Hi there, I'm back. I've got more models, more show and tell. And I'm going to continue in this one with my theme of inspirational, inspired, if that's a description, designs. So let's get started and just jump right in. I've got 6 different models to show you today, 6 different designs. Let's start with an old tried and true. This one goes back quite a ways. It's even dated 2007, so that's 13 years now. It still sells, it still speaks to people. It's called My Shade. And I sang in my church choir for 20 years. And one day we were doing a piece, and this particular verse from the Psalm was in there, and it just jumped out at me, and I thought, oh, I've got to do something with this. And that, coupled with the fact that I grew up my dad is a big tree lover. He just knows everything there is to know about trees, and he's a woodworker. And when he goes on vacation, he loves those California redwoods, all that sort of thing. So this really called to me. So I took the verse from Psalm 121, the Lord is your guardian, the Lord is your shade, he is beside you at your right hand, the Lord will guard your coming and your going, both now and forever. And I just filled it with trees. So there's lots of different kinds of trees in here, scattered amongst the words of the verse. If you look too, there's a big large oak tree, a smaller oak tree, and a couple little saplings. So I played with that a little bit. There are a few little creatures. There's some cardinals, a little dog, a couple little rabbits, and some birds. It's really a nice, peaceful, calming overall design, and I think it's interesting to stitch because in most cases no two trees are exactly alike. So this is called My Shade. It's one of my, again, older designs, but it is still available. Okay. So now we'll move on to some newer things. Let's see, let's start with a little tiny one on gauze. I call this Heart and Compass. And the phrase on it, and because of the color scheme, it's a little hard to read. Let your heart be your compass. And I just picked gorgeous, rich teals. There's 2 shades of that. The background has actually got some pattern in it, but it's stitched in the 2 close colors, so there's just a real pretty tonal background movement going on. And then it's kind of an old world compass that's the centerpiece of the design that really pops out at you. And the chart pack comes with this gold needle, and I've just inserted it in there so it acts like the needle of the compass. Now obviously, just like everything else, you could stitch this on any fabric that you like. Even if you're stitching on gauze, you could change up that background color if you would prefer to something else. Either way, I think the phrase, let your heart be your compass, says a lot, and you can make this your own. Again, Heart and Compass is what this one's called. Okay, here's another one that's been around for a number of years, and also one of my favorites. The title of the chart pack is Every Moment, which is what you see here in the middle. But it says, cherish every memory, love every moment, and embrace every possibility. It's a real hopeful message, and it's full of these yummy colors and motifs, lots of borders. I fill the background in with kind of a darker tone. I like the richness of it, but if you want something a little brighter, just change that up to something lighter or stitch it on a lighter color of linen. And it's called Every Moment. This is another example of where I have stitched around the edge. I'm not sure how well you can see that. In back stitching. Again, when I do that, I stitch over 2 threads of the mesh, and I often go around a second time and sometimes a third, and it creates a really pretty edge that's subtle and kind of finishes the piece but doesn't take away from the focal point of the design. This is called Every Moment. Okay, next. This is a quote I found a few years ago. It's a part of a Walt Whitman quote that just says, "Peace is always beautiful." How simple is that? I just fell in love with that, and this is one of those designs that I saw that quotation and just jumped on it right away, and it happened very, very quickly. I think I had it designed and stitched maybe within a week or 10 days of having seen that and been inspired. So sometimes that's the way it rolls. Sometimes it takes a whole lot longer and a whole lot more work. But just pretty simple elements, pretty kind of restful earth tones, browns, greens, and then the white doves. And it's called Peace. So that's just all it is for the title, just the word peace. It's a favorite. Another one, a lot of us know the hymn, or actually the psalm, "Bless the Lord, O my soul," and just that simple part. Sometimes that's all you need to think about. And I just added that line into this design with a pretty basket bursting with flowers. Couple of pretty borders. There's a small little heart in that flower in the corner. And you'll see here, rather than just squaring off the design on all 3 sides, I've shaped that top border. Now obviously if you're stitching this on linen, you don't need to do that. But when you're stitching on gauze, you actually have the opportunity to add that as a design element. And in this case, it really suits this and kind of emphasizes the pretty flowing line of those flowers. So this is called "Oh My Soul." And finally, in the little batch of models I'm showing you in this video, I've got one that is based on another Bible verse. I grew up in a little small town of a couple of thousand people in South Central Kansas, and grew up in a small little church where everybody knew everybody, and it's been around for at least 150 years now. A lot of history, and from the very beginning, that the early founders of that little church had chosen a verse as their motto, and it hangs very prominently displayed in the sanctuary, and it was one that I thought, I need to do something with this one. It's "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." So I did this on silk gauze and finished it a little differently. It's got a very cool willow tree, a little flock of sheep. There's a little dog running on the hill there. It's just a little meadow kind of thing happening here. And just like "Oh My Soul" that I just showed you, I shaped the top of this a little bit to actually add something to the design. And I really like how that turned out. Now this finish, rather than framing, is super easy. This is a pretty little primitive wood painted horn book from Fripperies. Okay, and all I did is I have also found, it's kind of like a woven linen ribbon that I've found at the craft stores a few times. All I did is wrap a piece of that around. This black is a piece of Velcro for hanging on a display. But I just wrapped from the back and glued it in place so that the two ends meet in the middle underneath everything. Okay, so those raw edges of the ribbon are hidden then. Now the actual stitching is fused onto a piece of wool. You see there's a little bit of a thickness there. So in this case, it was I probably used Weeks Dye Works Snow Cream. And I fused it with something like Wonder Under, Steam-A-Seal, those sorts of things. And then trimmed it with pinking shears so it follows the general shape of the piece. And then once that's fused to the wool, it's easy to just glue it onto the board, because you're not gluing your stitching directly down anymore. You're gluing the piece of wool, and on top of that ribbon, you're hiding the ends, and then I just accented it with another piece of creamy colored ribbon. So again, the finishing on this is crazy easy, and I think it's just adorable. So that's all I have for today. Be well, keep the faith, stay hopeful, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.